So there's one issue with doing our project on the Crusades. What are the Crusades exactly?
I can tell you two. We're going on an adventure back through time.
Sounds like a plan.
Let's go.
What were the effects of the Crusades?
The Crusades tended to have two major consequences affecting the social, political, and economic life of Europe. The Crusades helped end feudalism in Western Europe and brought about the conditions that helped create the Renaissance. The Crusades began the breakdown of feudal society in Western Europe. Many feudal lords went off to fight and die in the Crusades, leaving their serfs free to go to towns and start new lives. Monarchs gained new strength when knights left to fight in the Crusades in the Middle East. This increase in the power of the monarch also helped to end feudalism. Crusaders brought back goods such as spices and clothes, which increased demand for these goods. Merchants, particularly in Italy, grew rich from this new trade with the East. Crusades also brought back Greek and Roman classical works. The wealth from trade and new knowledge of classical Greek and Roman works sparked the Renaissance in Europe.
What were the Crusades?
The Crusades were a series of holy wars, called by popes, with the promise of indulgences for those who fought in them, and directed against external and internal enemies of Christendom, for the recovery of the Holy Land from the Muslims in the 11th, 12th, and 13th centuries. Crusades were characterized by the taking of vows and the granting of indulgences to those who participated, like going on pilgrimage. Crusading was an act of Christian love and piety that compensated for and paid penalties earned by sin. It marked a break in earlier Christian medieval conception of warfare in that crusades were penitential warfare.
When were the Crusades?
The First Crusade was launched by Pope Urban II at the Council of Clermont in 1095. There is controversy, however, over the last crusade. Traditionalists would end the Crusades in 1291 with the fall of the last Crusader castle of the Latin Kingdom, the city of Acre. Pluralists disagree, but one good candidate would be the Spanish Armada of 1588.
The First Crusade.
This crusade played a very important part in medieval England. The First Crusade was an attempt to recapture Jerusalem after the capture by the Muslims in 1076. Any Christian who wanted to pay a pilgrimage to the city faced a very hard time. Muslim soldiers made life very difficult for the Christians, and trying to get to Jerusalem was filled with danger for a Christian. This greatly angered all Christians. Those who volunteered to go to fight the Muslims cut out red crosses and sewed them on their tunics. The fight against the Muslims became a holy war,
The Second Crusade.
instigated by Pope Eugene III, in a bid to defeat the Muslims who were still threatening to retake control of the Holy Land. A second crusade was seen as necessary.
Oh no, the Turks are upon us!
Due to the capture of the country of Edessa in 1144, which meant more military reinforcements were needed. Large armies drawn from across three major nations, England, France, and Germany, and a host of smaller nations gathered in preparation. Conrad from Germany and Louis were instantly defeated by the Turks and died as a result. The French, while lasting longer, were also defeated, and their army nearly entirely destroyed. Following the failure of the Second Crusade, Jerusalem was also left without adequate protection, something which ultimately led to the demand for the Third Crusade.
The Third Crusade.
The Third Crusade is dominated by the leadership offered by the two main leaders involved, Saladin and Richard the Lionheart. As with most major leaders of the medieval times, we know very little about both Richard the Lionheart and Saladin. Saladin failed to defeat Richard in any military engagements, and Richard secured several more key coastal cities. Nevertheless, on September 2nd, 1192, Richard and Saladin finalized a treaty granting Muslim control over Jerusalem. but allowing unarmed Christian pilgrims and merchants to visit the city. Richard departed the Holy Land on October 2nd. The success of the Third Crusade allowed the Crusaders to maintain a considerable kingdom based in Cyprus and on the Syria coast. The failure to recapture Jerusalem, however, would lead to the Fourth Crusade.
The Fourth Crusade.
The Fourth Crusade was actually conceived in 1199 at a jousting tournament. The Fourth Crusade was originally intended to conquer Muslim-controlled Jerusalem by means of an invasion through Egypt. Instead, in April 1204, the Crusaders of Western Europe invaded and sacked the Orthodox Christian city of Constantinople, capital of the Byzantine Empire. This is seen as one of the final acts in the Great Schism between Eastern Orthodox Church and Roman Catholic Church, and a key turning point in the decline of the empire and of Christianity in the near city. The Crusaders established the short-lived Latin Empire and other Latin states in the Byzantine lands they conquered. Byzantine resistance is unconquered sections of the empire, such as Nicaea, Trebizond, and Epirus, ultimately liberated the capital and overthrew the Crusader states. The Fourth Crusade is considered to be the last major campaign of the Crusades, and marked an end to any further serious attempts at reconquering the Holy Land.
The Fifth Crusade?
Following the ill-fated Fourth Crusade, the Fifth Crusade proved that Europeans remained as committed as ever to recapturing Jerusalem, and planned to do so by first conquering the powerful Egyptian state of Aibad. The Crusaders believed that the way to recapture the Holy Land was first to break Egypt's unity. Egypt had still a firm hold on Jerusalem, and the majority of the land that was previously held by the Christians when Pope Innocent III argued that this new crusade at the Fourth Lateran Council in 1215. The Pope was determined that the Fifth be controlled and overseen by the Church. However, Pope Innocent III's plea to begin the new crusade initially went unanswered as a result of the failure of the Second, Third, and Fourth Crusades, and the reluctance of the Christian leaders to suffer another defeat. The Pope instead appealed to Christian members of the public and offered them rewards if they agreed to join the Fifth Crusade, or help them in any way. Those who were not physically able to march to East were encouraged to help towards the Crusades by fasting and praying for a positive outcome. Those who did have available funds were urged to help to finance another crusader who would not be able to afford to go otherwise.
The Sixth Crusade.
The Sixth Crusade was of monumental importance to Europe, as it managed to achieve what previous crusades had failed to do, recapture the Holy Land. Considerably less fighting was involved in this crusade. Rather, it was the diplomatic maneuvering by the Holy Roman Empire Frederick II of Hohenstein, which achieved the desired outcome and saw the Kingdom of Jerusalem regain control of Jerusalem and other surrounding areas for the next 15 years. The crusade, which began 5 years after the failed Fifth Crusade, was brought about by Frederick, who sought to assuage his guilt as his lack of leadership of the Fifth Crusade by launching the Sixth Crusade to recover Jerusalem, paid for by Holy Roman Empire funds.
Yoo-hoo, big Christian blowout! I say we bribe them. Money is no object. Let's kill them.
The Seventh Crusade.
Louis IV of France decided to launch the Seventh Crusade in December 1244. The situation in Europe was seen by Louis IV as providing the ideal time to launch a new crusade, as there was a break in the struggle between the Holy Roman Empire and the papacy. The barons eventually agreed to support their king in his bid to launch the Seventh Crusade. The Seventh Crusade was conceived and carried out under the control of a monarch. Following a council with his key men, the king had decided it would never be possible to capture Jerusalem while Egypt remained hostile. So the Crusaders arrived close to Damietta, Egypt, in June 1249. The king arrived in Egypt with only around a quarter of the men he had set out with, as a result of diminishing supplies which had been used up during their lengthy stay in Cyprus, and a storm which scattered many of the boats and troops. Louis IV and his men were able to gain entry to the town. From there, they headed on to Cairo, but their efforts were hampered thanks to the Nile, which was flooded with excess rainwater, making the river and its canals impassable for many months. Despite the victory, the Crusaders were tired from the fighting, and many contracted a plague. Following months of negotiation, the king and his barons were set free from prison in exchange for substantial ransom.
The Eighth Crusade.
The Eighth Crusade, launched by King Louis IV of France in 1270, represented the last major crusade aimed at the Holy Land. It took place just 16 years after the 17th Crusade and came about as a result of concerns over the decreasing power held by the remaining Crusader states. The king opted to land first in Tunisia, mistakenly believing that the Bay of Tunis could be converted to Christianity, and encouraged by his brother Charles Anouilh, king of Sicily, to command the ports of Tunis, therefore making the conquest of Egypt easier. From there, he planned to march across Egypt to the Holy Land. On October 30th, the Crusaders made an agreement with Sultan to retreat in exchange for free trade with the city and guaranteed residence for monks and priests in the area. A war indemnity of 210,000 ounces of gold and a doubling of the tribute paid to the king of Sicily were also included in the terms. While the Crusaders attempted to carry on to Syria, a storm which broke out in Trapani saw many of their supplies and ships lost, and they were forced to return to France, a move which heralded the end of the Eighth Crusade. The year 1291 eventually saw the end of the crusading era in the Holy Land, as a result of the fall of Acre, the last remaining Crusader base in Palestine.
Oh, I have a hair clip. I can clip yours. Okay. Okay, you realize that, right? Exactly. That's how you die. You died. Okay. Don't. No! If you tried to hit my hand this time or my face! Oh my god. I was getting awesome. You're getting so close to me! Okay.
Yoo-hoo! Big crusade blow up.
Yeah, that's true. How are we falling? We're just gonna fall and see if we can.
Hey.
Okay.
Wait, what are we doing?
Wait,
what?
Wait, time out. Someone's gonna break something.
I'm gonna die. No, I'm getting off this.
Steven, get off the horse! It's the Pope. It's the Pope.
Do it!
How do you do this?
Kylie's turn.
Fail!
Oh my gosh, that was so close to my head. Wait, teach me how to rifle.
Teach me how to rifle.
Teach me how to rifle. I don't like this one. You're so funny.
I am hilarious.
This one's harder. Like this? Alright, grab like this. Wait, here? Like a mini top. Yeah. Then go. Come this way now, because you're funnier than I am. Do I catch it? Woo! Yeah. The same way. Yeah. Because you have to keep going. And then and you have to do it a few times.
You broke it!
I don't like the tiny one.
This is dangerous, don't you think?
Don't try this at home, kids.
Watch out, 'cause I don't know where to go. No! The horse!
Okay,
We're gonna start
I
this
got
over
this.
again.
No! Steven! Oh my god, don't rip our Nile!
No, don't look at me like that. You're like this. Steven, get off the horse!
It's the Pope.
It's the Pope.
You made it!
How do I get across
The
that?
horse is dead.
How do I get... No!
However, you then cross this 2-foot Nile River.
Oh, wait. Hey.
Start your in
Guys.
denial.
No, I'm not.
You didn't save him. I'm in
I'm
denial.
not.
That's a wrap on all this. If you break that sword, we're done. Oh my god! You split it in half.
Fly on the wall! I'm like...